I have this little quandary, which is that the kitchen counter is not really big enough for the stacking rack after I do the dishes. So there's never enough room, and it takes up way too much space anyway. So I saw this in a magazine. Somebody had craftily made a plate rack that sat right above their sink. So they could just put the plates in it as they wash them, and then the water drips down, and there's no mildewing problems, there's no space on the counter problems. Look, it's pretty. It's a cute little plate rack. And it's a bit of a design nightmare because it didn't work out. I had to go buy big plates actually to actually fit my rack, which is really not the way you're supposed to do things. And the reason for that is that the magic thing to know when you're designing your plate rack, so start thinking about it now, is that the plate rack shelf that holds your plate can be narrower than you think. In fact, it should be 2/3 to 3/4 the diameter of your plate. So this is a 12-inch plate. It fits beautifully in a 9-inch slot. But I thought this plate would fit beautifully in a 9-inch slot because it's a 10-inch plate. And I thought, okay, probably just a 9-inch slot. Not a lot of scientific method. Drops way down too low, doesn't sit through the slots at the back, just doesn't quite make it. So I thought, well, maybe it'll fit better down here. Darn. Oh, that's just not a good feeling. So it does fit these sort of okay, but in fact, it's a little bit too big even for them. So you have to be a little bit careful. So know that magic dimension thing, okay? And the other thing is, if you're putting wet plates in there, or even damp plates, you need to protect the wood. So you want to stain the wood. It is such a pain to stain this after it's built. I cannot tell you. So the trick is to put the finish on it when it's all in pieces like this. Now the real trick is that because you have to coat this with urethane so that it's impermeable to all the drips and stuff that are going to happen on it, the dowels get bigger. You wouldn't think so, but one coat of stain and urethane is going to make these dowels expand. How much? 2 drill bit sizes. And I say that with a bitter tone because you get all those little nasty holes drilled, takes a better part of an afternoon, because look at them all. And then they're the wrong size and you have to do them again. See, look, they fit kind of big on purpose. Look, this is a 3/8 inch hardwood dowel. It slides beautifully into the 3/8 inch drill hole, okay? But once it's got this finish on it, it doesn't fit in here, and it goes all the way up to this size. It way won't fit in here. There's just no hope for it. So you got to go up 2 whole drill bit sizes. That's a little tip. This is what I'm going to use. Actually, I'll start with this. These are maple, and they're a little bit the same color as the pine that I'm using to build the cabinet around it. But it's a bit too blonde for me. I'm more of a brunette preference there. So, oh yeah, that went everywhere. So this is aniline stain, and it comes in a little package like this, and you open it up and you shake it into a quart of water, and it gives you a whole quart of stain, which is water-based. Just looks like this. And it gives you these beautiful colors. They're primary colors, but also wood tone colors. So look, it's really pretty. And you can either put it on nice and thick and not wipe it off to get a really rich color, or if you find that a little bit strong for your taste, you can just rub it off a little bit. So then when that's done, I'm going to coat it with water-based urethane, and that will protect it from water and heaving and swelling and all those nasty bits. So I'll just put all these coats on all these rungs and all these other little parts, and then we'll go from there towards assembly, because that's where it gets a little bit mind-blowing. Woo! Okay, 1. Okay, a whole lot of staining going on here, and the clear coats on all these pieces. So they're nice and thickened up now. See, look, they fit really nicely in this hole now. And they sort of fit in these holes, although not, oh, well, that one fits really nicely. But every once in a while you get a thickie, and it just doesn't, see, there's a thickie. So if you run into problems because your hardwood dowels are not sized completely precisely, which is going to be annoying, you can take a smaller sized dowel and get some sandpaper and just glue it on the end there, and then you're going to spend hours looking like you're cleaning out a musket, you know, just reaming and boring. All right? Or wouldn't it be, oh, I have an idea. What you could do is actually mount this baby in your drill. Okay, you working with me here? This could be good. Cool. That works. Look, there's a sawdust ring. That's good. That means they're making progress. Let's try Mr. Fatty now. That's good to know about. But anyway, this was the 2 drill sizes up from what was supposed to be 3/8, and it's still a snug fit. So depending on how messy your application of the stain is, like I got a big drippy stain there. Okay, so it's worth knowing that when you want to figure out how far apart these little plates should be, 1 inch between the rods is good. And I don't mean between the center points of the rods, but between the actual circumferences of the rods. All right, so the way to get that measurement when you're hand drilling over and over and over, drill, 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 is to measure down the center of the board and then go along with a speed square, and like you'll measure off the increment, which is in fact exactly 1 1/4 inches, because you're allowing for the hole itself. All right, so you just go down and you mark it, and so it's easy to drill. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is set up the back. So there are these 3 little boards that I have the holes drilled in. I'm just going to set these rungs in place and these lower rungs in place. So I'm going to need the tall rungs and the medium-sized rungs for now. And I'll leave these rungs that actually sit with the plates in them over here. So this is just a matter of probing and gluing. So we probe to see if it goes in, which it does not. So we got a Mr. Fatty, or we got a little Mr. Shrivelly hole. I'm not sure which it is, so I'm putting the Mr. Fatties aside for now. I don't know what else to call them. They're just not cooperative. Because some of these, look, that one fits. Go figure. So that one's good. So I'll put the back together. That one was good. That's Mr. Fatty, so I'll have to sand or find a smaller dowel. That's good. So I'll put these like this. This will go like this. Then the medium-sized ones are going to go like this for smaller plates. Like this. No. Oh. Maggie blew it. I need some more holes. I forgot a few holes. These holes have to join. So the middle one has to accept rungs in the top and in the front and in the bottom, and I left off the bottom. So back to the drawing board. Yep, that's gonna be special. All right, I'm covered in glue and I'm feeling a little ornery. My plate rack has become a test of mental acuity, really. So look, I've got the back finished, okay, after drilling out the other holes, and I've reamed and bored with my smart little sandpaper on a stick device, so that all of these are, do I look crabby? Because I feel it. And we're not even cresting yet. We're not even at the halfway point. It looks simple. This is a bit of a trick to get into place. I'll explain why. This is my lower shelf. I've glued all the little soldiers into their little holes here. So now I have to insert this. You can run into some interesting situations on the insertion plane, because all these little guys have to line up and they're not going to be anxious to do it. So you have to use a little persuasion, as we call it. A rubber mallet is good for that. First I have to put a little bit of glue on the end of all of these babies. And actually I'll just splort a little into each of the holes. and hope for not a lot of over secretion, which I had just an unbecoming amount of it up here because I splorted into the holes and then they all overflowed, and so all those Q-tips there came in handy. So anyway, so this is all gonna, I'll just do a few at a time so I can show you what I'm talking about. So you think it'll just simply insert dowels, but then you find, oh, well, that one's not quite lining up, is it? And then you find out, this is a horrible time to find out that you didn't sand the holes enough, so it's a really important thing to dry fit them. All right, so let me just persuade, and it almost always hangs up somewhere. Rats, I think it's hanging up desperately right there. Okay, so, oh yeah, I can feel my entire physiology shifting into high gear here. Sort of a little hypertensive state. This is gonna be really maddening. It's hanging up somewhere. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna glue the little, I'm just gonna glue the rest of the little babies in here, and then we'll just fight this little, don't be starting to get messy here. We'll just do this slowly and carefully, like a true woodworker would. Okay, they're all full of little bits of glue, and this one, the one lone rebel. All right, so once this is in, you have to just make sure that it's square. So to do that, you use a tape measure, and you measure at both ends, you know, from this corner to the ground. I'm just stalling, really. I'm just trying to make conversation while my embarrassment builds because, you know, this is just tricky. I was hoping it would just slip right in there. Just a little honeymoon experience, but no, it's not going well. Okay, they're starting to come along. You know what? It's gonna go. Everything's gonna be fine. You know, I'll just use my persuader a little bit here, and oh, did you feel that? Okay, I think they're in. Let's just measure and find out. So from floor to ceiling on this, I've got 4 3/4 inches, and over here I have 4 3/4 inches. Oh, that almost never happens. Usually there's a bit of rocking and rolling to try to get the two ends even, but let's just leave it alone. Okay, so let me just explain what's going on here with the way this frame is built. See, you can see it here really clearly. The shelf is basically a 45-degree mitered corner. Okay, it's very delicate, but what's this thing here? Well, it's interesting, you should ask, because look what happens if you just try to put this mitered corner of the frame against the cabinet. How are you going to attach that? There's just no way to attach it, you know, that I know of, except some cheesy little L bracket down here. And you don't want to do that. It's looking so good. So you just glue this cheater strip to the inside, and it looks a bit like this. Okay, see, I've glued it together here, just clamped it. And that's really cool because then those two are a unit, and you just slap them on like this. Okay, and then, whoops, and then I'll clamp it here and here. I'll put the other one over here. And then once I get the second shelf on and cheater strips on that one too, I can just pick up this whole unit and slide it into the cabinet, the outside frame of the cabinet, which I next have to build. So let me just get these shelves in, and then we'll put it aside while the glue sets up, and then we'll build the outside cabinet. Okay, the unit is basically in place. All the clamps are holding the glue, and I've just added a few little nails here where it was tending to pivot a little bit, and on the other side and bottom. So that's just going to sit there for a little while I build the cabinet. Now, it sounds like really fancy, but it's just a box. All right, see, look, 2 sides and a bottom and a top, a box. The only little tricky bit is for the little bottom shelf there, you want it to be supported across the back. So I just glued this extra little strip in here. Then I just pre-drilled and nailed it in addition to the glue, which you can see is still in there and still drying. So it just sits there at the bottom. And you don't want to just like put it right at the bottom because that looks kind of ginky. So move it up half an inch or so there's a little bit of an inset there. So I'll just square that like that, more or less. And then this one, same distance. And then I'm going to glue the ends and nail it from the side, and I'm going to use these really cool finish nails that are spiral shanked so that as you hit them they twist, and they stay in the hole forever basically because they're driven in with those spirals. It's hard for them to back out. So I'll put this in place. The very last thing I'm going to do is put the top on because I want to make sure this fits, you know, in terms of the height of it. So I'll just get this on, and then we'll set this in here, and then we'll put the top on, and we got ourselves a plate rack. Ooh, very nice. I'm just setting these little nails now because I don't like them sticking out. I like them to be deep into the wood, and then later I'm going to fill them. See, nail setting's fun. You go once for balance, and then you give it a whack. That's how you do it. Bim, bim, bim. It's like a heartbeat. All right, so it's time to set this thing into this cabinet and see how everything's lining up. So what I didn't want to have to tell you before because it's so complicated to explain, but the reason these things are set sort of strangely is because this holds this out from the wall. If the rack is too close to the wall, then when you put the plate in, it bangs against the wall and chips. So you have to, you have to account for that in your design. Okay, now that has to move way up there. Oops. Oh, well, there's always something. This actual piece should have been cut longer. See how it meets up nice and tidy in the corner here? But, ooh, that's a head scratcher, isn't it? Okay, well, it's gonna have a lid on it, so it's okay. As soon as I realize I've made a mistake, I start dropping things. It's just to distract others, I think. It's a little coping mechanism. Oh, you see, that's short too. No, that's okay. Okay, well, whatever. It's all a bit weird, but okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have 9 plate racks, really. I'm just gonna attach this on the top. I'm gonna have 9 plate racks before I get it right, and I'll just have to keep buying plates, really. That's how it's gonna work. Don't even think of it. Okay, I'll just put this together. Okay, I've set all the nails. Wanna see it? It's a plate rack, and look how sturdy it is. It's got one little cosmetic individuality up there. I wouldn't call it a mistake. It just is a different line than the one I was going for, but it still looks okay. And look how it fits the plates. Okay, look. Ready? Huh? Not hitting the wall at the back. Pretty snazzy. Then the bottom rack here can take any number of different size plates with different diameters and still look pretty snaz. Okay? So look, this is a very utilitarian style plate rack, for plates that you use every day. But there are some plate racks in the world, for example, the one on my right, which was made by Brian Gillander, who is a pine artist. He has been working with pine, in particular aged pine, for over 25 years. He loves to create stuff that's going to be around longer than we are. So this is the kind of plate rack, well, it's huge, really, but it displays plates face out for fancy plates, like your Limoges platters and things like that. So if you have really good plates, you could consider a rack that just has a little groove, because that's what his has. It's got a little groove that holds the plate from slipping and breaking. So clearly, you can get really good at working with wood. I mean, this is just a beginning attempt. I've not been working with wood very long, but Brian would tell you, you have to make mistakes, or how do you know how to do it right, you see? So anyway, it looks good. I'm gonna fill the holes now, and that is going to be done with some oil-based putty, which never really dries, but it just mixes up into the perfect color. You can mix all the different colors till you find the right one. And then you just wipe it in the little hole where the nail was, and look, it disappears. The nail disappears. You would never know there was a nail there. So this will offset any other little cosmetic difficulties I might have had. So pretty.
When you design your own projects, I think it makes you a better conversationalist. For example, with my plate rack, I can entertain people for dinner knowing that if conversation lags, I just have to discuss my generously sized plates. And if that's not fodder for witty banter, I don't know what is.